Greetings YouTube, this is Sixus, and with me is...
EV Sceptile, hello.
Yep, and today we're going to be doing a discussion of 10 cards that are on the ban list, but we think should, if not completely come off the ban list, at least partially get removed from the ban list. And he'll be beginning with...
I'm gonna be talking about Gish keys. Now there's my first one is really gonna be two. Uh because I think anyone who's played Yu-Gi-Oh! And been around for a while, I think everyone kind of knows about the two Gish cards that are on the ban list still. They are both limited to one. They are the rituals, level 6 rituals, EV Gish key, not Gush, Gust Kraken, and EV Gish key Mind August. Now, I can understand why they're hesitant about the first one, because basically it's a level 6 ritual, which is pretty easy for them to pump out. I mean, it's easy for them to pump out all of them because Shadow and Vision count as the whole tribute. But it says when this card is ritual summoned, you can look at two random cards in your opponent's hand and then shuffle one of them into the deck. I can understand them being hesitant about this because it's hard to do, but you can potentially get multiples of this card summoned in one turn. You have to have a really crazy hand, a very specific hand for this to work.
To be fair,
And
preparation of rights is at 3, and it can easily
yeah,
suss this out.
right. And if you're running at one, like still like today, if you're being forced to run at one, you summon this, and then if you have another mirror, Gishki mirror in your hand, you can ritual summon Mind August using Gust Kraken, shuffle it back into the deck, then use preparation of rights and do the whole thing again. It's very possible to do it again, but at the same time, this is Gishki, and in general, Gishki don't really shine much. They're a little bit better now because of the incantations, but if you're gonna say that, you might as well say that every ritual deck has gotten better, and in which case, the one that started off worse is still going to be worse. So, yeah, Gust Kraken, if not completely removed, I feel like it would probably be good at 2. Honestly, I feel like that would be good enough, because it would give them like a kind of a win condition, not really a win condition, because that alone does not win you a game, and that's the main thing.
It gives
This card is
you
limited.
it gives you information about your opponent's hand and
Yeah,
can slow them down a little bit.
right. But it in no way is like a instant win. It gives you certainly an advantage potentially, but in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, where there's multiple ways in decks to search and draw, there's multiple ways to basically just summon them from the deck anyway. You may end up doing your opponent a favor, possibly. Now that's unlikely, but still, in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, sending a card back to the deck is not a huge thing. If you were to do 2, I can see that being a pretty crazy thing, which, like I said, is possible to do.
My opinion of this is that they have Topologic Gumblaw Dragon, which can discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand,
Right.
and they tend to, you can do that multiple times. You can make
Yep.
your opponent discard 4 cards if it's extra linked. Because you
Right.
need more incentive to extra link.
It's just like, you know, the game's gotten so fast. Like I said, most time players won't even miss that. And if you can pull it off multiple times, well, then that's just something that Gishki can do, and that's something that pretty much only Gishki can do, because with rituals, you're actually required to run something in your main deck to summon it. Surprising, but that's basically how. That's the reasons why I think it should be at least put the 2. And then Mind August. Why is this card even on the list in general? Sure, it lets you recycle 5 cards from your graveyard, but it doesn't add them to your hand. It puts them back into your deck, which means you can draw into them again. But that, of course, takes draw power in the first place. And with Gish keys, they don't have a lot of it. They do have some searching. They do have some draw power with Moray of Greed, and of course you can run stuff like Desires and all that. But still,
Well, Pot of Avarice and Jar of Avarice. Uh,
right, they
they
exist.
they not only shuffled 5, the same amount into the deck, but they also let you draw a card in addition to that.
Right. This doesn't. It's just recycling, and I know mainly, like I said, it's because of the recycling you can do with Gus Kraken. Uh, but seriously, if they were just to remove one of these, they should just do August and completely remove it from the list. Um, but yeah, I just think that this card especially is just pointless to have on the list because in fact is not insanely broken or anything. It's just recycling materials, which in some cases, if you're not careful, can actually hurt you if you're using preparation of rites. It recycles the ritual spell from the grave. So
Actually,
you really
right now, I'd like to note that it would actually be useful in the modern variations of the deck because it would let you put the incantations back into the deck so you can
right.
spell them out again.
It gives them something to do, as well as it does let you use your send your opponent's card back to the deck. But honestly, I feel like there needs to be something like this in Yu-Gi-Oh because there's just too much abuse with floating and stuff like that. And every card has like a banish effect in the grave now. It's not even like, oh, it has a banish effect. That's super cool. No, it's just expected at this point. And having something to disrupt that would be very good for the game. I feel like it would be able to kind of balance it out where not every deck has to have stuff like that to win. Instead, you can just have stuff to disrupt it. And that's kind of what Mind August does. This isn't even like a once per turn effect. If it was like a once per turn effect, I can see, okay, yeah, that would be a little annoying. But the fact that it's only when it's ritual summoned is just ridiculous that this card that this card is on the ban list. But anyway, that's my
Another
first.
thing is at this point we have a dimensional burial, which you can just activate that declare ritual, and because it's a win effect,
Right,
any
right.
kind of counter trap that can negate a summon.
Right, Solemn Strike. There's so much. There's so much, and the same thing goes for pretty much every monster if you're using that argument. But for these monsters, especially more because they're rituals, you're having to use something. You're having to use at least two cards to bring these out. And in my opinion, these cards aren't like insanely broken for their cost.
They
You know what
really
I'm
just
saying?
have one effect.
Right, right, right. And it's only when they're summoned. So that's my first pick of the list.
Moving on to
Deadly.
me, I have Pantheism of the Monarchs. Anyone who's played a Monarch deck understands that it's bricky. You're always going to end up bricking with that deck. Pantheism is a draw 2, and it has the additional effect of allowing you to reveal 3 Monarch Spell trap cards in your deck. Your opponent chooses one of them, and then you add that to your hand. Note, they do not have to be 3 Monarch cards with different names. So you can choose 3 of the same, and just get added to your hand. Now, the fact that you can use both these effects in one turn, and you can technically, yes, choose a copy of itself with its effect, might make it seem a little bit crazy, but at the same time, it has a hard once per turn on the secondary effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a draw 2 that is technically searchable, but your opponent gets to choose which one that gets added to your hand. They won't let you add another Pantheism.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And if you've already used this one, you're not gonna have 3 in the deck to choose.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can always just choose Tenacity and add it back to your hand that way, but
Right.
still, it's why I think this card is necessary at this point is because Monarchs are just so doomed when it comes to consistency. Because
Mm-hmm.
your emphasis is on high level tribute monsters. That can be a big problem. You can have an entire hand of monsters and not be able to summon anything. If this was higher than 1, you could actually have enough draw power, enough searching to actually do plays a lot faster than you can currently. And
Yep.
yeah, it's searchable, and you can recover it from the banish pile with, I think it's Adios? The Heavenly Scryer. Heavenly
Oh yeah.
Scryer, when tributed, well, when used for a tribute summon, can recover any of your banished Monarch spell trap cards. You have ways of constantly reusing this. You have means of searching this out. So I can understand why I got on the list in the first place, The thing is, what's the last thing that Monarchs have done? They
Been a while.
defined an entire format. I like the playstyle. It's one of the few control decks that I actually really like because the attack power is very good and it's not like stalling. You can actually be aggressive and win with that deck.
Yep.
But you cannot get to that point currently because this is at 1. I'm fine with Stormforth being at 1 because that's generic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But this one I think should actually be increased in the quantity you can use. Because otherwise I just need Monarchs to be better.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's a very unique deck because of the fact that it actually uses tribute summon and is effective. There's no other deck that can say that really, um, and especially not to the point where Monarchs got, which was top tier,
Yeah.
for a while there. It would be like a good different type of deck to be in the tier list. If it were to become like extremely powerful off of this again, I think it would be good for the game. Just so you would have something different in like tournaments and stuff instead of just, extra linking your opponent out.
And this, with the field throw, can permanently stop an extra link.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is
yeah, 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 yeah.
unique.
Field spell is deadly.
Yeah.
Moving on. The next one is El Shaddol Construct. Now, I don't necessarily think this should be completely released at 3, but at least put it at 1. Let it be used. It was definitely one of the most used Shadow fusions because it took a Shadow monster and a light monster. If you're unfamiliar from Shadow, everything floats. Um, everything has like an effect when it's sent to the grave, and they all have flip effects too, which was also very unique, but also makes them slower if you're setting them. If this card is special summoned, you can send one Shadow card from your deck to the graveyard, which, of course, like I said, will cause an effect to go off. And at the start of the damage step, if it battles a special summon monster, destroy that monster. And if this card is sent to the grave, target a Shadow spell or trap in your grave and add to your hand. This is a extremely good card. However, its destruction, which I feel like was a huge point about this card being good. It's battle related. Most of the time, your opponent can just, well, first of all, Solemn Warning is a thing. Solemn Strike is a thing. There's a lot of things that could stop this.
There's
Uh,
countless mirror forces in the game now.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of mirror forces.
I
I mean, like
I'm
if your
pretty
opponent
sure
wants to run battle traps, they can.
I'm pretty sure that part of the reason this was hit was because at the time there weren't that many good light monsters to send to the graveyard, but then we got Trick Clown.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah. And Trick Clown is definitely something to watch out for. And I feel like the fact that that card could be used like this would actually give Shadows a little bit of a boost in the link format too, because Shadows actually do have a link.
actually
I
let's
don't
talk
think
about that real quick.
I
The
don't think it's very good.
hold on, their link lets you fuse and summon using it. And it is a light monster named Sidal Construct. Not El
Right.
Sidal Construct, Sidal Construct. So why did they release a link that's directly referencing this, and it seems like the sole purpose is to be able to use it to summon Sidal Construct, but they did not re-release El Sidal Construct from the list.
Right, right.
I don't
And
get
another thing,
I don't get
go
it.
ahead.
I
Oh,
just
okay.
yeah.
The other thing about this card is that it can resummon itself, which is very nice for like constantly reusing itself as a fusion. And the thing is, there is like a kind of an infinite loop going on here. When El Shadow Construct is sent to the grave, you get to return a spell and trap from your graveyard to your hand, which could be Shadow Fusion. Construct can send a Shadow card from your hand or field to the graveyard, thus causing a floating effect to go off and bring itself back, and then you can go into it again. And really, you don't need more than one construct in that case, of the fusion anyway.
You really
The
don't.
link as a link monster kind of fails because it points to the side and
Left and right
really Shadow
side.
get a
Yeah.
field swarm enough to get to get that many links consistently, and that's not really their goal. I feel
No, and
Um,
also the thing is, it requires two flip monsters, and you cannot link summon using face down monsters.
yeah, that's another problem with it. It is hard to get out initially. There is ways to do it, but I feel like this card, if they really, if you were going to tell me that Shadow Fusion would be broken and would make Shadows top tier and tier 0 and all that, if your argument was that, um, I can believe you if this card said two monsters, including one flip monster, because then you could use to perform H Trick Clown. But this, you can't do that. Trick Clown is just a. In that case, it would be a generic Link monster that it would have to come out with, and chances are that monster's not going to be super helpful for Shaddolls in general. So
Yep.
I feel like this card should at least be brought back to one, just for some fun testing with it. I mean, they made this Link. I mean, it's kind of hard for you to look at this Link and not see the fusion construct
Yeah.
that this was made for. It was made specifically for this, but Shaddolls can't use it. So, plus bring back Lightsworn Shaddolls. That was fun. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this thing.
Okay, next up, I want to talk about Draco Face Off. This quick play says you can reveal a Draco Slayer and Draco Overlord Pendulum monster from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks one of those, and you can either place the one that they selected in a Pendulum zone, or you can special it. You get to choose. And the one that they didn't choose gets placed in the extract face up. It's a hard once per turn as well. This is at 1. I think this is due to the Draco Pepe format. You know, the same thing that was outed in this, Ignistor, Luster Pendulum, and what was that? What was that before, pal? Monkey Board. Yeah, that was
Monkey
out.
board, right?
Yeah, that
Right.
was outed, and all of those getting hit. And that's been a while ago.
Oh yeah, Monkey board's still on the ban list too.
Yeah,
Right.
pendulums aren't nearly as strong as they used to be. So, why is this deal hit? It's Draco Slayer. It requires you to one very specific pendulum monsters. It's not searchable. It has a hard once per turn effect. So why is it still on the list? I know I'm a bit biased because I love the Draco Slayer / Draco Overlord series of cards and their related archetypes. So of course I want this to be back so I can run multiple copies of it. But at the same time, even if there's that 3, I'd probably only want 2 because of otherwise I'd have situations where I have it. I either have multiple copies in my hand, I'm going to activate one, or I don't have enough of them in the deck to
Right.
use this.
That's something we were talking about before we started recording this video. Um, could it be just used to bring out a monster to the field to spam for link monsters? Yes, but how much like effort do you have to put into that? You have to have Draco Slayers and Drake Overlords in your deck. And if I'm correct, the Drake Overlords, I don't remember them being anything crazy.
No.
Yeah, they just had to do with negating effects of pendulum monsters and pendulum card effects, uh, and that's not really game defining nowadays because
No, it
pendulums
isn't.
aren't nearly as good, like you said.
That, and if you
Um,
want to negate pendulums, one dimensional burial.
yeah, so it's like I don't know. I feel like this card, like, could you do it like that way? Yes, but would you have to go through a lot of effort to do it? Yes. So I don't think it could be a beat, really.
And plus, it's unsearchable. So it being
Oh
on
yeah,
at 1 means you will have to be extremely lucky to see it.
true, true.
Well, moving on to the next one.
All right, so my next one is Shuret, Strategist of the Necros, and I'm not saying completely off. Maybe just put it at 1 because this card is very powerful. But basically, let's read what it does. If you ritual summon exactly one Necros ritual monster with a card effect that requires a monster, this card can be used as the entire requirement. Simply as the Gishkis.
Yep.
If this card is tributed by a card effect, you can add a warrior type A Necros ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Now, this is really good because once you used it as the entire tribute, you could bring out Bryonic. And the main reason that this was so huge was because it could be used for any of them, because the Necros all have effects that say that they're, I think it starts at level 7 or level 6. Let me see. Yeah, I think it starts at level 7, where they say they must be ritual summoned without using any level 7 monsters. Well, this isn't a level 7 monster, and it counts as the whole tribute. So it basically ignores that thing, that little line that they have that are level 7 or higher, that restricts you from using one monster, and it just says, yeah, you can just use one monster to do this. And Bryonic, whenever you tributed this card, because you would tribute it with the ritual spell, you could search Bryonic, and Bryonic had the effect of either you can discard this card and add one Necros monster from your deck to your hand, which was consistent boosting, or you can target 2 face-up monsters on the field that were special summoned from the extra deck and shuffle them into the deck. This is not gonna lie. This is a very broken kind of combo here that they can do, because everything that interacts with Shuret will help you advance on your field with Bryonic. Now, the thing is, I'm going to say it like I did before, it's a ritual deck, and to bring out these monsters, the minimum requirement you have to do is -2, bring this thing onto the board. But the difference between this level 6 Necros and the Gishki level 6 fusion ritual, is that this one has a really good effect, regardless if you summon it or not. If you don't have the means to summon it, it is still good, and that's why Shuret, I do believe, definitely was banned because of that, and that main reason, just because Bryonic was really good. Now that Bryonic's limited to 1, I don't think this could be abused too much, especially because if you're just running 1 of each, first of all, you have to get this card to your hand, which is, possible by
Reinforcements of
reinforcements
the
of the army. Yeah, but at the same time, you only have 1 copy of that card too, and that card is not searchable. So it's kind of like, if you have 1 of each, it's kind of hard to abuse that. So I don't see anything wrong with at least putting the 1. Maybe 2 could work. I'm not quite sure, but just unban it. Just get it where it's playable, because a lot of people, and this bothers me with a lot of stuff, a lot of people, and this bothers a lot of people too, when they get these cards, they play them, and then Konami bans them. Well, now all the money they spent getting these cards when they were good is now completely forfeit. So, yeah, it's just kind of annoying that this card, which helped put the deck together and helped it work, is not usable whatsoever.
It's definitely the kind of boost that a ritual deck would need.
Yeah.
So I really need it to. I would really prefer if it would come further off the list, so
Right.
that Necros could actually be playable at this point.
And consider this too, with the incantation. They basically do what this card does, right? They basically fill
Yeah.
the materials because they summon from the deck, activate from the hand, and then search something when they do this. This, sure, it basically is the same thing, but technically you're given more monsters to work with. The only difference is that sure, it will let you summon whatever ritual you want, which for Necros is necessary because they have a whole lineup of 12 of these things from different levels. Well, not 12 of them. They start at 3 and then they go to 11. So that's 8. So you really, excuse me. So you really kind of need that level ignoring mechanic, really, that he has. But yeah, that's all I got for this. I just think it needs to at least come off at 1.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, we got Wind Up Carriers in Mighty. This rank 3 was very important in wind ups, and it allows you to once per turn detach a material to special in any wind up monster from your hand or deck. And when a wind up monster on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can detach 1 excess material from this card, target that card, and return that to the hand. The important part of this is that you can special in any wind up from the deck, and its effect is not negated. Due to this, you can get all of good ones for consistency. Because it doesn't specify SP in defense position, you could bring out Rat and have it used for or you could bring out Magician and continue doing plays. And the important thing with this is that this is really good for swarming, and they have a link. This would definitely benefit with said link, as you would be able to get more cards on the field faster, and then yes, letting you swarm the field with windups, which is their main benefit. Just the swarming, just the seal volume that they can swarm the field with. So I think Zen Mighty would be very important given that the link exists. And on that note, I would like to bring up that there was a bit of a loop you could have with Wind Up Hunter, and if that's going to be a problem, ban Hunter, and yes, give us the boat. Not much else to say, Willie.
Yeah. So in that case, I guess I'll go ahead and move on to my last, because I don't really have anything to say about it, because I don't ever played windups.
And I can't say anything about the one you were going to talk about because I never played that deck.
Yep. So Ritual Beast Alticana. Now, this card is on this list. It's limited to one. It's not banned, but it's limited to one, and it is because of the searching it provides, while also putting monsters in your graveyard from your banished pile, so you can use them with Laura. If I'm correct, what's her name? Laura. Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar with how Ritual Beasts play, I'll give you a quick summarization. The Tamers bring out the Beast, and the Beast have effects, varying different effects. And whenever you have them on the field, you contact fuse, but instead of sending them to the deck, you are banishing them to bring out their fusions. Their fusions all have tag out effects that during either player's turn, at any time, you can just send them back to the X deck and bring out two of your banished Ritual Beast monsters, one Tamer and one Beast. And so all of them have the effect that you can only special summon them once per turn, so you can't spam them and infinitely, go back and forth between them, which is definitely necessary. So the thing with Kanahawk, what does this do? It has 1400 attack and 1600 defense, which is terrible, but its effect is what really makes it good. Once per turn, you can target two of your banished Ritual Beast cards, return them to the grave, and if you do, add a Ritual Beast card from your deck to your hand. Now, this selection of cards that you can add has grown over the years because I have received a few extra support cards here and there. But this basically, what this does is it returns them to the grave, so you can bring them back with Lara. When it's normal summoned, you can special summon one from your grave. And then it also allows you, of course, to search, which is, like I said, a pretty vast majority of cards. They have a pretty decent amount of cards, mostly monsters in them, including pendulum monsters, if you want to set up scales. This will allow them to swarm the field much faster and keep up with more modern decks, especially since they have, you basically have to have a link monster now to play them effectively. And they do have a link monster of their own, which helps you continue your plays. However, the problem with Kanahawk here is that whenever you banish, or not banish, you return the banished monsters to the graveyard, if you just bring out this Kanahawk, and that's the only thing you brought out, you're not going to have any materials to tag out of in the first place. So you can't say that this card is too good of like a first turn start. It's too consistent to keep doing that and keep continuing plays, because really it's not. Really, it's just not, because you have to basically set up your banished pile with at least two more, one being a Tamer, one being a Beast, then go into Kanahawk to use its effect effectively. And be able to go into the fusion. Now, there are ways to get around this, like, Ritual Beast Return. Excuse me, not Ritual. My bad. Ritual Beast Bond, where if you have two on the field of any name, you can just bring out another one. And this is searchable by Kanahawk, but it does still leave your banished pile kind of empty after you do that if you don't have prior setup. So I feel like this card, being a search card, oddly enough, requires setup to do searching, which most of the time you need searching to do the setup. So I don't think this card is worth putting at limited to one. You could take it off to 3, and I think it would be fine. But if Konami is nervous, put it at 2. I mean, it's just, to me, Ritual Beasts aren't doing anything in the meta, and they're a really, really cool deck. I would love to see it go on just absolutely crazy plays, chains off of being able to search multiple times with this effect, possibly. Because if I'm correct, they can be special summon multiple times per turn, right? Yeah, I don't see you can only special summon this card once per turn on the fusion. So yeah. You can summon this card multiple times. But what ends up happening if you do this now, you have just this one copy, and if you banish it with Ritual Beast Bond, it's kind of hard to get back because the card you're using to return them from the banished pile is itself banished. So yeah, I think it'd be great to have this card back to at least 2. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this.
Okay, and finally we have the Insectors, namely Hornet and Dragonfly. Now, similarly to Ritual Beasts and Zedars, they have received a link from the Link Range Pack 1. And this one's one of the more disappointing ones from the Link Range Pack. You see, the Insector link, it says it only takes 2 insect monsters to summon, but the truth is, you're going to need 3 on the field because its effect of Pico Felina? I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. But it says, if this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 other insect monster you control, and equip 1 insect monster from your deck to it as a equip spell. So you need 2 to summon it, and you need 3 to make the effect useful. Which is why we definitely need Dragonfly in particular, because it's the only form of swarming this deck has. You see, the way Dragonfly works is that once per turn, similar to every other Insector, you can equip 1 Insector monster from your hand or graveyard to this card, and the unique effect is that if an equipped card is sent from your field to your graveyard while equipped to this card, except during the down step, you can special summon any Insector card from your deck except itself. That part is important, because unlike Wind Up Magician, it cannot continuously bring itself out. And the importance of Insector Hornet is that you can, while this one is equipped to an Insector, you can send it to the grave to target and destroy 1 card on the field. This is important because this is the fastest way to send an equipped card from your field to the grave to trigger the effects of Dragonfly and Centipede, while also having the benefit of removal, though a lot of cards at this point are either immune to targeting or have some kind of protection against it.
Yeah.
But in combination, if these were at more than just 1, given that they're insect monsters, they're not very searchable. The way Dragonfly is, you can easily get enough cards on the field, well, or at least get 2 on the field by using the effect once. It can definitely give you enough swarming to actually do plays with it. And be able to bring out the link, which is kind of annoying when, hey, we give you a link, but we're not going to give you the card to make it easier to summon. We'll give Cleaforts their cards back. We'll give them back Towers, and we'll give them back Sacrifice. But nope, not Insectors. So now we got a really weak card, 1,000 attack, and would require 3 cards to be on the field to summon this and make it worth it. But no, we don't get the cards to make it easier to summon.
Insectors have a pretty decent amount of stuff going for them. They're dark, so they can use Lore of Darkness.
But as it is, a Lore of Darkness is risky because you might end up banishing your one-ofs.
Exactly. If you have no other choice and you get rid of that, you can't recover it, really.
Yeah, so that's why I think these definitely need to come up from 1, if not 3, then 2. Though I don't think there would even be any problems with putting them at 3.
Yeah, it's like you said with Hornet. Most decks have like target protection nowadays. Even like obscure decks like BES.
Oh, I was gonna say Hazy Flames.
Yeah, Hazy Flames especially just neuter this deck. And the thing is with with Hornet, like I said, it's not once per turn, but a lot of decks just don't care anymore. Even if they do get some of their stuff destroyed, they can just, for the most part, decks just don't care about being destroyed one at a time. You have to do it in huge waves, make any impact for the most part. Uh, and
And
Dragonfly, I mean,
sometimes they might just want you to destroy it so they can get a floating effect.
right. And Fly would just give you an actually consistent way to bring out the link and have the link do something.
Yeah.
Just the fact that its effect only activates when it's summoned too is so bad.
Yeah.
Ah.
Maybe at some point we should do a video of the worst link monsters for archetypes.
Yeah, this has got to be the worst because you not only have to have basically 3 monsters to do this on your field, you also have to discard a card.
Yep.
Uh,
That is so not necessary. Well, we're going to find out how this goes when the ban list gets released. Whenever that gets released. We know how Konami is with ban list scheduling.
it just happened.
Anyway, that's all for this time.